Forgot to press the button. Welcome, everyone, to our Public Works Urban Beautification meeting for August the 17th. Call to order. Declarations of conflict of interest. Seeing none. I'll need an approval of the agenda. So I need a mover and a second. Moved by Councillor Duffy.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
maybe Scott, our chief engineer, will give us an update on calming measures on Hawthorne Avenue.
Which one, sorry?
Hawthorne Avenue. Do you have anything on that? Well, I'll just,
We don't really have any updates at the moment. We did try the four-way stops, which are currently installed, but we don't have an update on any data or at the moment.
I just want to get an update, just to ask a few questions that were brought to my attention.
Okay,
Mr.
we'll
Chair.
put it on. Yep, we can put it on. And,
Under new business.
okay, thank you. And anything else?
Yes, we add on some information around the two lights that have been out of commission for almost 2 years on Victoria Road. They're city lights.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
We're all good with that? Okay, yes, Mr. Duffy.
could I ask for an update from Mr. Adams on the decorative lights versus the standard lights at the bottom of Fitzroy Street? We discussed it about a
Oh,
year
yeah,
ago.
right.
And referred it to Maritime Electric.
Right,
I
okay.
just, have we heard, have we not heard, and if we heard, what do we hear?
Okay, we can add that to it if
Thank you,
everyone's
Mr.
good.
Chair.
Okay, so I will need an approval now for the agenda. So moved by Councillor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Duffy. All those in favor? Aye, we're all good, thank you very much. The adoption of the minutes, so Public Works Urban Beautification of June 23rd. And there's the Civic Board of Persons with Disabilities that was on July the 14th. So I'll need to adopt those, and then any business we can talk about. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Everybody's good. Thank you. Business arising from those previous minutes. I see none. Great. Thank you very much. Reports. So we'll go to 6A, which is the Queen Street Lighting Project. Mr. Adams.
Yes, I'll give a quick introduction. So Don Allen at Downtown Charlottetown Inc. Had approached the Public Works Department in regards to a new project on Queen Street, a lighting project proposal for us to review, and we've invited Don today to be here to speak to it and give us a bit of an overview. And then once she does her presentation, I can talk about from the city side of perspective.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Don Allen, to Public Works. You have the floor.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Early on in the pandemic, and especially now, I think that it's become clear to all of us the value of our outside space and how if we need that extra space or if we're limited to what we can use inside, we need to move outside. The other thing that became really obvious was the need for lights and events to make our downtowns look open and not only for activity but open for business as well. So DCI last year proposed this new project for downtown Charlottetown, which is we referred to as titled as Shine the Light on Downtowns. One thing we knew that when as we were recovering from the pandemic, it was going to be easy to get people to go canoeing and to go camping and to go to their cottage. But there were still some folks that were tentative about returning to downtowns. And so we want to always continuously enhance the product that we have in our historic downtown, and lights was a product that we knew would work. And so I know that each of you have received this proposal, so I'm just going to go through it briefly and hit some of the highlights as to why we do what we do and why this project. So Downtown Charlottetown strives to improve the perception of downtowns by providing a welcoming environment, keeping things clean and safe, and advocating for continuous positive change. Why this project? Lights on a street improve accessibility. Outdoor lights will make the commercial property easier for shoppers and visitors to use. We want to enhance security. Outdoor lighting will enhance the security of our commercial properties and make our visitors and shoppers feel safe and welcome. It improves aesthetics. The type of lights that we're looking at are cohesive with the rest of the commercial property in the association with the municipal lighting. And we are trying to create a cohesive location on Queen Street. Downtown Charlottetown is already a warm and inviting place, and especially in the summer, the city's full of activity, it's full of people, but as we approach fall and the days get shorter, enhanced lighting within the downtown is beneficial to businesses, and it will encourage businesses to extend their business hours. Our goals. So what we're trying to do is those things that I suggested with safety and extending hours, but also if you can visualize what we're doing, and you will see that on the screen. We want to create a vista. We want to donate a scene in downtown Charlottetown where Queen Street, which is our main street, is consistent with lights from City Hall down to Water, with the swags on either side, a destination and a wow factor. We want to create a warm and welcoming, safe feeling when you walk downtown, which is enhancing our already heritage character. Visually highlighting the key areas of our community and gathering commerce, spaces of commerce, encouraging evening use in our downtown and enabling longer business hours, make the downtown more inviting and welcoming to everyone. Our downtown is everyone's neighborhood in the entire province. Improve pedestrian experience and create a positive experience for participating businesses by helping them gain more foot traffic and customers later into the evening, and support downtown festivals and events. I will mention here that the first festival event that we hope to support is the activities that we have around Small Business Week, which are happening October 17th to the 23rd, where we, again, will really promote the extension of daytime business hours. So the outcome of our project, we hope to increase commerce, increase visitation, an extension of business hours, and enhance new street products such as the new library learning center that will be opening, the grand opening will happen next month in downtown Charlottetown. I will add that this, although it's a big project in that there'll be hundreds of lights on commercial strings from City Hall all the way down to Water Street, the Delta, it's passive in nature. It doesn't interfere with traffic flow or vehicles in any way. We're using existing infrastructure in that the company that we have chosen out of Moncton, decor experts, have 15 years experience in light installation, and they do it all over Atlantic Canada. We've chosen the swag pattern on the tops, from the tops of the heritage lamps, specifically for those reasons, because they won't interfere with any snow removal or, as I said, parking or deliveries. We've taken all of that under consideration. DCI applied for this project, or funding for this project, through the Rediscovered Downtowns and Main Streets through ACOA in May, and we were approved in early July, and that's why we're coming to the city now. We aren't looking for any money or necessarily even any help, although we are seeking your support and your input as a partner. So DCI will purchase the lights and pay for the installation. We will maintain the lights. The product that we've chosen, the commercial industrial lights, the light bulb itself pops in and out really easily. The lowest swag will be 10 feet from the ground, so it's really accessible from a step ladder or a ladder, but not accessible when we're reaching out in hopes of damaging them in any way. They are exchangeable. And so if there was a festival or event or an occasion that we wanted to celebrate, we can change out the color of the lights. If when the city hangs its festive lights later on in November and December, and they're blue and white, we could replace every second bulb with blue. Again, an expensive DCI. So I would conclude to say that this is great project. We're creating an avenue into arts and entertainment, shopping and dining within the downtown by denoting the special area on Queen Street, our High Street. It is a passive installation. DCI is funding it, and we're looking to the city for partner as support and ideas as to how you too can use it going forward. And if you have any questions, I'll certainly try to answer them.
Thank you very much, Don. It certainly sounds a project that's worth going down, that's for sure. Anytime we can keep our streets bright and colorful, it's a good thing. Mr. Adams, from the city's perspective on Public Works, what's your thoughts?
Certainly. So Don had approached us quite early on in her project, and we saw it as a benefit to the city. Anytime there's a project to try to beautify it, or create an ambiance or a vibrancy to the downtown, it's always great. So we were supportive from the get-go. So from a public works standpoint, it is existing infrastructure. It's just some of the things that we'll make sure if it is approved, just ensure the where it does dip down, it's not too low that it does impact any of our operations. There's a few alleyways or access points we will work with Don to make sure that those aren't encroached on, so people still have access to their parking lots or loading zones and all that good stuff. And we also talked to fire. They had the fire inspector. He looked at it this morning with me, and he didn't see any concerns with this installment between the light posts along Queen Street. I believe one request, and maybe Don can correct me if I'm wrong, the lights would be plugged into city power on the pole, so there would be a small monthly cost for the electricity, but they are LED bulbs, fairly low cost at the end of the day. But that would be just the one expense that I can see for the city at the end of the day.
Thank you. I'll open the floor up to questions. Go ahead, Councillor Ramsey.
Well, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Don. It's a fantastic project. As I'm sitting here wondering, like your garbage trucks or your delivery trucks that are going down the side streets, is there going to be enough room, or do they have to be hooked at that certain street, to have that truck go down there?
The streets will be swagged from corner to corner on each block. They will not cross a side street. And for example, the delivery laying into the Queen Street liquor store, they will not cross that delivery lane either. So it is literally thousands of feet of string lights that will stop where necessary and continue on. But the flow in the visual will continue.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there probably could be the odd instance where we might have to make adjustments of some sort. But question for me or from myself would be Don or Scott. The city tower here, as the seasons and the days of celebrations of different groups within the city, they want us to change the lights in the tower for purple or whatever it is for whatever, whether it's for whatever occasion. Do you see that being where the public will start saying, well, why can't we have the lights all the way down Queen Street red for this event, or blue or green or whatever it may be?
I'll take advantage of this moment to put a little plug in for DCI. There's lights in the tower in City Hall because DCI hired an engineer company and a consultant to write a paper as to why we should have the tower lit and how it would happen, and we contributed $12,000 to that project. And so it was done there specifically for, as you said, those occasion and those celebrations, because it's the most important building in our downtown, and that's where those occasions should be recognized. So to answer your question, no, the lights wouldn't be changed out and probably shouldn't for everything, and all focus should be on the monument, which is City Hall, that was specifically indicated for that purpose.
Good. Thank you very much. Good question. Good answer. Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Don, for continually improving the downtown core. This, coupled with a farmers market and so many other initiatives that you have spearheaded, it's just another great example of why we're lucky to have downtown Charlottetown Inc. So thank you very much for this. I will most definitely be supporting this.
Thank you very much. Any other comments?
Chair?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Fully agree with Councillor Yankoff about the work DCI is doing. And I know that Don would love to expand BIAs throughout the city. An effort was made, but we had to sidetrack it for now. But yeah, the BIAs do work, and DCI has shown that it's very effective in working with municipal, provincial, and federal governments. Don, on the Rediscovered Downtown's funding, is it Rediscovered Downtown? Is there a time frame that you have to expend that before the end of the federal fiscal year?
There is, yes.
So March 31st, 2023.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, even after, if we receive approval and place the order for this product, because we wouldn't without our partner approval, there's a minimum of 8 weeks before they even arrive.
Yeah,
And we're late into August, as they say.
yeah.
Old home week, we all know, say no more.
So Don, one of the issues that we had about Kent Street was the pull on the lighting with our existing infrastructure, heritage lights that are on Kent Street. Now, I don't think the pull will be the same, the pull on between the heritage lights with this lighting, because it's a lighter material. But has that been considered, Chief Engineer Scott?
It is a good question. So with the Kent Street, one of the things that part of the original plan too, and I believe it's still in the works, there would be potentially art display, as you probably recall some of the earlier renderings, different color balloons or orbs or things like that. When you are suspending those types of things, you have to factor in wind loads and all that stuff, which puts added strain on the infrastructure. So that was part of the issue. When you're looking at this type of infrastructure, the wind load, there is some, but it's minimal because there's a cable that's holding everything together. And the nice thing is when you're going from pole to pole, you got equal pull from either side. So it's actually, there's very little, it's actually balancing it out. The only one we would have to ensure, and we'll make sure, we'll inspect the bases to make sure we're comfortable with everything before we do install it, is really the light poles at the end of each run, just to ensure that they're in good shape and we don't see them having any issues.
And Mr. Chair, these are just questions that I think arose with the Kent Street project, which I believe falls under the Discover Charlottetown Inc. in their effort trying to push forward on that initiative. So, as you know, Scott, our chief engineer, that the lighting down on Queen Street, for the most part, is similar to what we have in Kent Street. It's the original heritage lighting, except for that piece between Grafton and Richmond that we, I think, installed in 2019, similar to what we want to do at the end of Fitzroy to continue that heritage lighting initiative. So you're all right, you're satisfied that the pole will not be an issue short-term, mid-term, long-term?
That's correct. And again, like I say, we'll do a final inspection of the end span poles just to confirm, make sure we're comfortable with everything. But just looking at the proposal, we shouldn't have any issues.
Yeah.
No.
And Mr. Chair, just a last point. Don is right on with the lighting in the downtown. You can go down Great George Street in the evening, and because we don't have the LED, do we have LED lights in those? I don't think we do.
No,
It's
only
fairly
part
dark.
of them are LED.
And as Don said, security, safety and security is enhanced when there's better lighting. So I agree with Don on that, but I'd love to see, Don, down the road, that there'd be some more coordination with Discover Charlottetown, CADC, DCI, and how we can address downtown lighting, whether it's decorative, it's more heritage lighting, so that we have that sense of security, safety and security. Thank you.
May I add to that, DCI this fall will be conducting a light audit as things begin to get dark, and in areas that are not or could be well lit, we will approach the business owner and suggest to them that we would purchase floodlight and install it on their building with their permission to further enhance the walkability and the safety for those areas.
Or the city could replace its sodium lighting with LED lighting, which we're doing as part of net zero initiatives. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Good, thank you very much. Any other comments, concerns? I think it's a great project. I think Queen Street will probably lead the way, and I think this could be a project we could see on other streets as well. Yeah, it could be very well. So if we're all good, I'll need a motion. We're going to, okay, I got a mover and a seconder that we recommend staff's recommendation for the committee to approve it and move it on to council. So we have Kevin Ramsey moved, seconded by Councillor Duffy. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, so Don, I guess you don't have to stay if you don't want to. I don't think we're that exciting. Did you have lunch? No. You're more than welcome to have that if you'd like. Sure. Okay. Thank you. What? Thank you. Okay, moving on to B, e-bike share program. Scott will start it off.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I guess I'll introduce our guest today. Sophie is one of our engineering students with us. She's been on this file since kind of its inception, since it was brought to us. You might be wondering, the e-bikes have been, I guess, under the environment and sustainability umbrella. And this presentation will likely go to them sometime soon as well to get their support. But why it's here is Sophie, again, Sophie's been involved since day one. And with the transition from, with the Environment Sustainability Manager departure, along with, there is a lot of infrastructure involved with this on public right-of-way, so it does have a crossover for public works. So we wanted to bring it here to gain some support so that we can continue this file forward and hopefully get a resolution back front to you. So I'll get Wallace to bring up presentation here. So I guess I'll kind of start at the beginning a little bit, and then I'll let Sophie jump in and kind of take us through some of the slides here. So this started, the provincial government has approached the city probably in late 2020 in regards to some type of bike share program in the city. The province has been funding a lot of infrastructure projects around the province, but they really want to see a project that was not infrastructure per se, but it was a cycling, that some way of a cycle share program, and see that get off the ground. So the former manager of environment sustainability started doing some research, and has we kind of end up on a direction where it would be an e-bike share program for the city. And so that's what we're going to present to you folks today, and give you a bit of an outline of it. So I'll let Sophie start kind of going through some of the slides here.
Okay, so some of the objectives of this program are to provide a sustainable, cost-efficient, and healthy transportation option, elevate downtown business traffic, and reduce parking and traffic congestion, as we hope this program will encourage cycling and active transportation. This program aligns with the goals from the City of Charlottetown's Integrated Community Sustainability Plan. So create a community greenhouse gas emissions reduction strategy, investigate and demonstrate the use of innovative energy solutions, and research models for innovative transportation opportunities like this bike share. One of the biggest questions might be, will this program be used? In my research, I found that when e-bikes are made available and affordable, they will be used. For example, in the city of Brighton, 80 employees were loaned an e-bike for a 6 to 8 week period. Of these people, 3/4 use the e-bikes at least once a week, and average usage across the whole sample was 15 to 20 miles per week. There was an overall reduction in car mileage of 20%, and at least 70% said that they would like to have an e-bike available for use in the future and would cycle more if that was the case. So what we have been looking into was having docking stations that have chargers placed throughout Charlottetown and Stratford. After doing some research, I determined that bike shares are most used when the docking stations are walking distance apart, which is about 300 to 450 meters. Different pass options will be available for purchase through the website and the app. E-bikes are unlocked using the app or using prepaid fob cards. Secondary locks will allow users to make stops during their trips, and operations including maintenance, rebalancing, customer service, and IT will be handled by the supplier or a third-party operator.
And just one note too, Sophie just mentioned one of our partners is Stratford. Stratford was kind of brought in early on as well because we see this, the core of this system would be in the downtown core around our existing cycle network, which is, again, there's close to the Hillsborough Bridge with our new active transportation lane across that bridge. And the province approached Stratford about also wanting to be part of this program. So we'll get into a little bit more along the way too of other partners we've started to talk to and started to see if gauge interest in the community for a larger scale project.
All right, so here the yellow pylons are potential station locations. This is attempting to keep the stations walkable distance apart, but it all depends on our partners, especially PEI. Yeah, not sure if they're going to be partnering with us yet, but if they do, their docking stations would be placed somewhere like that.
And we have talked to Holland College already. They're very keen on the project as well. And so, again, that just helps us expand the network quicker than we would have anticipated with the lower initial capital cost. And it makes the network more viable. The more station you have, the more interest people get into to go from point A to point B.
So this is the estimated startup cost. Still waiting on an estimate for operational costs. And since we haven't created an RFP yet, these are just estimates. And we already met with the province and discussed funding options, and they committed to up to 50%.
And again, that 606 that'd be spread out, or the 50% of that would also be spread out amongst our partners as well. Just keep in mind too, this presentation is very high level. You know, we're still drawing some pieces, but we wanted to be able to give you folks some sort of idea of the direction we see this going, some initial costs that it could come in at. Yeah. So.
Sorry, Scott. Sorry. You just got the province in there in the city, so half and half, so we say close to 300,000.
Correct. We haven't broken that 606 out in terms of partners.
Stratford's not on there at all.
They will be. Again, they're committed to 2 stations to date. So that would be they would pay their share of the 50% because.
You mentioned Holland College also. Would they be thrown?
Exactly. That's part of the discussion.
So there's a whole group.
Exactly. So that'd be part of the discussion. You know, if they would like to be part of the network and had bike locks on their property, we would be working with them to negotiate the final cost for that as well. But again, the reason why we want partners again is to expand our network. But we see, you know, both Holland College and UPEI having some big, you know, those could bring some big users into the system for sure. Like I see UPEI, for instance, you know, could have 2 or 3 on their campus, one on either end, one in the middle, and you know, going between classes, if you know, might be pretty slick to go across a campus on a bicycle. So those are some of the ideas that we've had, and again, we'll keep fleshing those out as we move along the project. But we're trying to start somewhere to build an RFP to go out to public tender to get proposals from various vendors who can provide this service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophie, for your report, and Scott, thank you very much.
We still have a couple more slides to go
Oh,
through.
is there
My
still more?
apologies.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Too quick on the gun, thank you.
So this is just an example of what a fee structure could look like after doing research of jurisdictions in North America and Europe. And Yeah. So damage deposits can be charged at time of purchase and return when the bicycle is docked. Overage fees will apply if the bicycle is returned late. A discounted cost for the first year could incentivize the program. For example, in Chicago, for the first year, they had an annual membership available for $5. Yeah, and to establish a more feasible fee structure and predict revenue, surveys can be conducted to determine interest in the program. All bicycles will conform to the Highway Traffic Act power-assisted bicycles regulations. Safety-approved helmets are proposed to be available for rent at City Hall, Town Hall in Stratford, and partner locations.
Yeah, this one's a tough one. I know a lot of people ask this question about helmets and such. Sophie did some research on what other jurisdictions do. They've all had some form of success or failure. I believe it was Vancouver who tried to have bike helmets locked with the individual bikes. They all went missing, stolen, damaged. They went to bring your own helmet, and I guess they do have great success with that. So I think one of the thoughts for us for a program around here would be the local residents or local users who likely are going to use this every day. We would expect them to bring their own helmet, but at some key spots, we would likely have a bike or a helmet rental program that someone can rent out a helmet for the day and bring it back. And we're thinking of sites, as Sophie mentioned, City Hall, Stratford Town Hall, and I've also, we still have to approach the Port Authority. We think they could be also a big partner in something like this, especially when the cruise ships come in. We would see them as being also, or having a kiosk to rent bike helmets if that's the case as well. Again, more details and more thought will have to go into this, but this is just we're starting to identify some of the issues and figuring out and coming up with some ideas on how we think we can mitigate or work within those issues that we have.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, but I think we almost might have to push bring your own helmet because of
Correct.
this day and age, because I know with kids ball and everything like that, and bats.
Yep.
The last couple of years, like everybody had to have their own personal bat, and they couldn't share helmets and all that anymore. So things along that line
Absolutely, and that's what we think as well. That'd be the best
for health reasons.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
That'd be the best way to go. That's what we also agree with. That is the bring your own helmet, BYOH, I call it. But again, like you get those tourists who are not expecting to have to, and that's why I say I see if the port is a partner, they would have to have, I would think, a fairly large rental of helmets because there could be a huge uptake on cyclists that want to get around the city and take advantage of some of our trails for the day. And again, here at City Hall, at the Visitor Tourist Information Center, Stratford as well. So again, and any other partner that would choose to do something, if UPEI wants to set something up like that as well, that would kind of be that way. We wouldn't control that aspect of it. It's really, at the end of the day, our overall concern is is just the biking and infrastructure associated with that.
Okay, so is that your report?
I think this is the last slide.
There's one more after
One
this.
more slide. So before Sophie finishes, well, let's just let them finish the report first, and then we'll have our questions, because there is some more questions here. Thank you.
Yeah, so we already went over this. These are our potential partners, and private partnership options will be available as well, like with businesses.
Yeah, we haven't really started exploring that as much yet, just because we didn't want to get this out too far ahead. We didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves before we had some support from council. So that's why we haven't started looking down that road as of yet.
So next steps, well, we'd like to create an RFP, work out partner cost share agreements, station location finalization, fee structure finalization, and we would need an advertisement and campaign management strategy.
And that's it.
Thank you very much. I'll repeat myself there, Sophie and Scott. I think it's a great initiative. I do see some stumbling blocks. For me, the helmet thing, as we all know, our local Kenny Murnion, our advocate for helmets. I can see this kind of complicating our problem. I kind of wonder, I know the province does control the bylaw, but I'm wondering, Scott, if we're going to go down this road, should we create our own bylaw within the city to give police the power to enforce this? Because I can see people going on helmets all the time or on the bikes without the helmets. You know, and my other question for you, and then I'll let you answer both, would be, so do you, I mean, how does the bikes get, you know, I know there'd be, like, you might rent it from the port, but you'll end up dropping it off at Hall and College, say, so the process of how does it get back, and, you know, who, like, so there will be a staffing component to this at some point.
Correct.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I'll start with the helmet one. So that's under, I believe it's under the Highway Traffic Act. So it is enforceable by our police. You could create a bylaw if you would choose to, but again, it's already in the Highway Traffic Act, which any peace officer is required to enforce. Just like, you know, someone speeding, we set speed limits in our city, but if you're speeding or driving erratically, that's all under the Highway Traffic Act, and that's what is enforced at the end of the day by the police department. So that is more of an enforcement thing, you know, and that's, again, just another piece of the puzzle as we progress down this road. Just another, you know, an issue to look at, and how do we, you know, what type of enforcement, additional enforcement that the police could offer, and how we could do that. So those are not, they're just I wouldn't say they're stumbling block, just a challenge that we need to have a game plan as we move this file forward. In regards to, my apology, your second question was, oh yes, moving the bikes around. So you're correct. So an individual could pick up a bike at Station A and drop it off at Station B across town. So what ends up happening is there's also the reverse. Someone else might take it from B and A. So these stations are connected wirelessly. You know where bikes, how many bikes are at whatever station. And so part of the RFP right now, as we're looking at it, all these companies also offer an operational side of things, which we will ask for them to submit a proposal as part of their RFP process on how they would manage that. Likely they would form a local company or partner with maybe a local bike shop. I'm not sure. Again, we would have to wait to see what they come up with for a solution. But essentially, there would be an individual who has a trailer with bikes on it, and you know, as time goes on, what I've heard and what I've read previously, you know, they have modeling to say, okay, we need to have X amount of bikes on this day at this station. So they can already, there's a lot of predictiveness that can happen previously, but there is an individual or a company that will go around moving bikes throughout the day as need be. And also they would repair the bikes as need be and make sure they're all maintained properly as well. So that's all part of the RFP process that we'll be asking for, that operational piece. And in my thought, you know, we would ask for maybe a 5-year term for the first 5 years to operate it. And it could be something that we continue privately, or it's something that maybe we want to bring in-house at some point in time. But that's kind of the thought right now with the initial RFP.
And Scott, I guess I can't enhance enough how much the police department should be involved with this. You know, resources are thin as it is, and I don't see how the present day structure is going to be able to handle policing the helmet situation. So, I mean, it is something we're going to have to really bring in on this as we move forward. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you for your report, Scott. Is this something that we're anticipating to kick off for next summer? So it will be it's not in our present budget right now.
That's correct. Our intention would be, if we're able to go to proposal here in the next month or so, our goal would to have something in place for early summer of next year, just kind of at the beginning of the tourist season.
And so with the capital budget or operational budget for next year not approved yet, this would all have to be contingent on whether or not it's approved through our budgeting process next year?
It could, I have seen previously where if council has, passed a resolution that says we will support this as part of our next year's budget, you can do that in advance of a capital budget or an operational budget discussion, and then we just have to include that at the time as part of those discussions. But yes, council can commit to something before the actual process.
So it would be, yeah, what we're approving here today won't be any dollar amounts, or we're just, in theory, approving the idea to move it on for council, and then to go to capital budget talks come as we get closer. Yeah.
That's correct. And just in terms of timelines too, Councillor Yankov, if we get this tendered or RFP outcome, probably September sometime, by the time it closes, by the time we review and settle on a package that we're satisfied that meets our needs, we're getting close to December anyway, which is right at the beginning of our discussions of capital and operational budgets. So it's a really good time to be talking about this, to get it tendered so that it's right there when we start those discussions anyway.
Mr. Chair, could I just ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I'm glad our CEO arrived. She's had another meeting and asked a very appropriate question, and the same question I was also mulling over. So when we look at our terms of reference, Mr. Adams, you have Public Works and Beautification, then you have Environment and Sustainability. So is there cross-pollination here? Like, does this have to go to another committee to get vetted through? It does.
Yes. So we'll be going to environment sustainability as well, because they are kind of the e-bikes and that kind of infrastructure, or that has always kind of gone through their committee. The reason why it's here, kind of two reasons. One, with the changeover in the manager, our staff have been helping produce this proposal. Sophie's done a fantastic job here. Also, because of the infrastructure, we're typically within the public right-of-way. Any of the infrastructure that goes in typically comes to Public Works. So pretty much all this infrastructure would be in a public right-of-way or a public space for maintenance and management of that. So that's why we kind of thought it should go to both committees. It never hurts to come to two committees at the end of the day, get support from more councillors at that time as well, and ask more in-depth questions as well.
So, Mr. Chair, again, then it does go up to finance and property. So there's a system in place. No. I know that. But to go to RFP, that's just for proposals.
Correct. Once we go to RFP and receive proposals back, then follows the normal tendering process. So once we have support from this committee and the Environment Sustainability Committee, we will prepare our RFP to go out to public, receive proposals. Staff will have a team of staff members review each proposal, score it accordingly, based on the score that's set at the time of the RFP issuing. And then we will make a recommendation to this committee, Environment Sustainability Committee. If that's approved, then it goes up through finance. It only goes to finance once it goes to expenditures and council as well. This is just to gain support at the lower level so that we can issue an RFP. We don't want to be wasting our time putting an RFP if there's no support from the get-go from council for this. But if there is support from a committee, then we want to continue moving forward with the project.
And Mr. Chair, all I'm trying to find out is that we're following the process because we've had some issues in the past, and this is a good project. And I do want to thank Sophie. I know how much work you put into it, Sophie, but I just could ask you a couple of quick questions. When I was in Montreal and Toronto, they do have similar setups, and I believe they're privately driven. But I also notice that going down Yonge Street or St. Catharines in Montreal, riders are never wearing the helmets. And if you've been down Yonge Street or St. Catharines at noon hour or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, traffic is going everywhere. So to me, and look, the chair understands fully the issue of helmets because we have the Civic Disabilities Advisory Committee, and we have one great advocate, Kenny Murnion, who sits on that committee, who was a brain injury victim from a bicycle accident when he was 7 or 8 years old. and he's always pushing this this helmet wearing cycling helmets, and I'm a big supporter of it because anytime I go cycling, I wear my helmet because if I get injured, it's an expense to the public health care system that'll take care of me. So, Sophie, Montreal, Toronto, have you looked at those jurisdictions? Is it the City of Montreal, City of Toronto that is working in partnership with a private company renting out these e-bikes?
I have looked into those. I don't have my notes with me on what they do with helmets and safety, but I'll get back to you.
Could you, because I think they're private entities, and I think the City of Montreal and the City of Toronto, they provide the spaces, like in the right-of-ways, and ensure that, the bikes are just not left all over the, up the sidewalks, side streets, and so forth. These are questions I'd like to get answered before we keep moving up the food chain on where we go with it. I'm a big supporter of it, Sophie. I love the e-cars, or e-vehicles, Mr. Chair. And I just was told yesterday we have 49 EV chargers in the city of Charlottetown. So that's owned by us and owned privately or owned by Parks Canada. So we're all moving in the right direction. E-bikes is part of that right direction. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any other questions on it? I think we covered it pretty well. I think great presentations by both Scott and Sophie, and it is exciting. So, do we need a resolution, Scott, for this?
Just a
Not
motion
really.
of support to
Just
move forward.
support that we that you continue on, move on to environment, and then on to the RFP process. Okay. So, do we have support, folks? Everyone kind of in favor of that? Great. Okay. Everyone is in support. Thank you. Community fridges. Which one of the lucky two get to have this one?
That would be I. So the city, the original request came through Katrina and Environment and Sustainability, but because it's on public right away, the request does come to Public Works. So the folks from Gift from the Hearts are asking for approval to install an additional food community fridge at the West Royalty area, the West Royalty Community Center. But they are open to other locations in West Royalty. That's just where they see a need for this type of system or this type of community support. So, we've looked at it. We originally, this would be the second location in the city. The first one is currently located, as you're well aware, at the Lions Club off Valley Street, Connolly Valley. Yeah. Yep. The reason why that one did not go public on public land was one of the issues, they didn't have liability insurance. And so that was a concern from our legal counsel that they could not, they just didn't have the resources to do that. We are under the understanding that Gifts of Hearts does. They are they are a fairly large not-for-profit that I assume that as far as I'm been told, they do carry liability insurance. So we would see, I did have talk with legal. There's always some concerns about liability, especially in the winter months. What about someone accessing this and slipping and falling? What about food spoilage? All that stuff. Now, our Karen has indicated, as long as they provide and name us as a third party of their liability insurance, as long as they're willing to agree to a number of terms and conditions and ensuring that the city is not responsible for any injuries or damages to property as a result of individuals accessing this fridge, and that's all covered on insurance. She says it is possible that we could allow this on city property and help provide this service. But she said she'd be cautious just to make sure that all those can be in place before we do approve it.
Thank you very much. It's a great project. They're doing wonderful work, but there are some issues with it, and I wish there was some way they could control the distribution of food after it's in the fridge. There's, we see it quite frequently from the Lions Club's perspective, and there's trucks just look back up and take the whole darn works once. And I know the culinary, we've take the time to bag up 2 peppers, celery, an apple, and a couple of this, and then with the thought that everybody would take a bag, but that's not what happens. It's first come, rips and tears, and takes whatever they want. So it's a great idea, but I think we got to keep plugging away at it. There is, it does create a little bit of a hangout. People are waiting for the food, and as we all know, community is hurting in some aspects of it, and that food is very important to them. So there can be some issues at these places. So I caution that we do make sure we're legally covered, for sure. Thank you very much, Scott.
Yeah, Mr. Chair?
Councillor Yankoff.
Oh, sorry, Lynn.
Thank you. Oh, mercy. Oh, thank you. And thank you for that report, Scott. The project is excellent. Anything that we can do to ensure the food insecurities are mitigated to some extent to the residents of Charlottetown is a step in the right direction. So I fully support this project. Thank you.
Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Scott. So basically, to narrow it down, they're looking just to put it on our property. They're going to supply the fridge, and they're looking for us to cover the electricity. Is that what it is? Oh, Mike, you're on.
That's correct. So yes, they will supply the enclosure that will be locked. I believe they're planning to have it hours from
8 to 6 or
8
something.
to 6. That's correct. Yeah. So they have volunteers that will be responsible for building that, making sure it's locked every day, checking the food and all that good stuff, make sure nothing's expired. And correct, they supply everything in the everything, including that shed that they'll have it in. It would just be the power supply for the fridge. That's correct.
Yeah, and I think it's a great idea, but as we heard from our legal also, we got to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, so we're not held responsible, I think, for liability, because anything could happen, right, this day and age.
That's correct. And like I say, it's doable to protect the city. It's just we will, if approved here at the committee level, we will work with our legal to draft those legal documents and ensure we have all the proper insurance and everything before we give final authorization to install it on private property or on city property.
And one more thing, if you
Yeah,
don't
go
mind,
ahead.
and the insurance goes through with the third party, right?
That's correct. So it would be the Gifts from the Hearts liability insurance
Right,
that would
okay.
have to name the city
Yep.
as a third party liability.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, any other? Oh, sorry, Councillor Duffy.
I was trying to suggest, and I have great faith in surveillance cameras. You just put a sign up, say that the spot is under surveillance. That would tend to curtail anybody who wants to fill up the truck.
Yeah, yes, I know the one down on Conley does have security cameras there. There is security
I've
cameras.
seen it at Conley. I've seen it in
Yeah,
action.
yeah.
Where one person is feeding the thing and
Yeah.
they're sitting there till that person leaves, and then the person that's been waiting goes and fills the car. It wasn't a truck. It
Yeah,
was a car.
yeah.
It was mostly pop, soda pop, soda drink. Amazing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any other comments or concerns?
Just in terms, I believe there's an e-watch camera already at the West Royalty Community Center. I believe there's a e-watch camera already installed at the property. I think we've done them for all our community centers just to improve security at them. But I will confirm that and let you know.
And is this somewhat, this is another one that's kind of shared with the environment and sustainability, right? It's kind of both committees. I see that Katrina is prepared to report. So just to So moving forward, the process would be that it's coming from both committees, I would assume. And
It doesn't necessarily have to go environment sustainability because it is public land or public right of way that Public Works is the kind of the responsible, or that's where the responsibility falls. So it doesn't technically have to go to environment sustainability for that. It was just, I think they came through environment sustainability as they have a lot of interactions with Gifts from the Heart and various matters, and I think that's just how it came through.
okay, thank you very much. Any other comments, concerns on this one? If not, we'll need a motion moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Ramsey, or Councillor Yankoff, that we support the community fridge resolution to West Royalty and to go on to council. All those in favor? Thank you very much. That's everyone. And we go to services, future planning. This would be Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Chair. So, as you probably heard me saying many times over the past few years, one of our shortcomings has always been that we're kind of a bit behind the 8 ball on future projects. And the goal is to start getting ready for not only next construction season, but construction seasons, 1, 2, 3 years from now. Because you'll never, for a number of reasons. One, it helps us future planning, of course. 2, you never know when funding is going to come down the pipe. There are a number of funding streams that gives a high priority to projects that are already designed and ready to go. And so that's what we want to do. We want to have a shelf-ready projects. We're starting to there. We already have a couple from past designs, but we want to have a number of projects that are ready to go for future construction seasons. And this is a great time to start planning because we always anticipate or ask as part of our RRPs that we need to have some preliminary budgeting numbers by December, because that's when we start talking capital budget. So without those numbers, it's really hard for us to budget correctly. So that's kind of why this is a great time to start looking at these projects. So a number of projects that we see coming down the hopper in the next couple of years. The engineering service redesign of Malpeck Road. So this is from Peter Pan intersection north to the bypass. The province has already indicated to us a plan over the next few years to do some upgrades to the bypass and Malpeck Road and a few intersections along there. We're not entirely sure of their timeline, but they have indicated that, and we try to work with them to get our road network ready and do some of that prelim work. Nothing worse than what they're designing. They design to handle more vehicles, and then it gets choked back down to our network and causes traffic delays. So what we'll be looking at is working with the province to what they're planning for design up there, and to make our changes on that section of roadway. The next one would be Northboro Road Master Plan. As everyone knows, it is quite a bottleneck, especially from Capitol Drive down to Belvedere Avenue. So we want to look at having a consultant come in, look at what public land we currently have. Are there ways to maximize it to get more capacity in terms of volume or traffic capacity out of it, and what some of those ideas we can do for future construction at that area. But it's always hard to start construction when you don't have that plan in place.
Mr. Chair, could I just interrupt? Scott, could I ask, will this fall under the EXP, or are you going out separately?
These are all brand new RFPs, and so what we're here today is to gain support. Again, we don't want to put out I don't want to put out a whole bunch of RFPs without committee knowing what we're planning or what we're intending for future years. And like I say, and I emphasize future years. I'm not expecting next year, but future years. If we don't have these plans in place, it is really hard for us to work towards a goal at the end of the day.
And we could be talking about, Mr. Chair, 5-10 years down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kind of the aim is, over the next 5 years, that's kind of when you start doing engineering services, you kind of aim for 5 years, just because the data starts to get a little too older by that time. So this is kind of like again, 5-year plan roughly. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so Scott, just to get it clear in my head, this is not all starting next year or this summer or anything.
Exactly.
Because, no, oh, sorry, yeah, the only reason I'm asking, because with the North River Road Master Plan, if it was happened to be widened or whatever, geez, I lost my word anyway, whatever idea was out there, maybe we could look in the future of maybe having our own lights and sort of putting, like the Christmas decoration or the, things like that that are in other wards right now. Because this is a main thoroughfare,
Yeah.
for the whole city. And if we are going to do it, maybe we can look, because you stated at one time that we cannot put them on the poles because they're owned by Maritime Electric. Am I correct?
That's exactly correct. So again, part of any master plan is what we're trying to look at. What footprint does the city own? Where's the property boundaries? How can we maximize that space to handle better traffic? Active transportation. That every time we go out master plan, one of our major focus is to try to get how can we get an active transportation lane integrated in there, get the cyclists out of the roadway, and as well as a bit of beautification at the same time. There are some areas where there's a lot of overhead wiring, and that's not that's not a great gateway into the city at the end of the day. And of course, we want to enhance the lighting when we do these types of projects, especially in commercial areas. Commercial areas should have a higher level in terms of how much light our lights are emitting on the roadway and surrounding areas in a commercial area versus a residential area. So these are all things we look at as part of a master plan to how can we, what can we get with what we have. There's always times that we get out there and we notice that we may have to work with a local landowner to purchase a piece of property. There's the things that, but we don't know that until we have that plan that we can work towards. So number 3 is just paved pathways and sidewalks. So that's just the continuation of our 5-year plan for getting ready for next year as well. The next project that we're looking at is street rehab on Exhibition Drive. The reason why we're looking at that one, again, water and sewer has the water line is getting aged in that area. And then our public works infrastructure has seen better days out there. And then I also look at, if anyone goes over in that area and Old Home Week, there's a major parking lot on Exhibition Drive that are used by people attending Old Home Week, and we have to create a false pathway on the roadway so people can access the gates. One of the goals would be to integrate a multi-use pathway that would integrate really well with the Riverside Drive active transportation lane, as well as continue, get good access to the Atlantic Lottery, to racetrack, all that stuff. So also, we expect an increase in traffic on Exhibition Drive. As everyone's aware, we're looking at the Park Street, Beach Street connector this fall. That will be going out to tender here very soon. Once we close off Park Street, now traffic's either going to have to come in on Grafton Street or come in on Exhibition to get to Kensington Road. So we're going to see a little bit increase in traffic in those areas. So we want to fix up that road and to better handle that flow of traffic for the future. Spencer Drive extension. So we want to start looking at our West Royalty commercial area master traffic plan and start having an idea on what that road is going to look like and the costs around that road for future construction. Major culvert repairs. So we have 2 culverts in the city. They're in good shape, but we want to do some maintenance on them. They have they're steel arches. And for their age, they're in good shape, but there's some work that needs to be done just to prolong their life. So we want to get some work done on those culverts. View Boulevard. So we are View Boulevard is it's a street that has a median down the middle of it, and it's quite narrow when people park on the side of the road and someone's trying to get by. There's also, I've been told from Water and Sewer, there's been a number of water digs recently in that area. So their water line their infrastructure is at the age of looking to replace it. So this is one we would like to have in the hopper ready to go to replace the curb and gutter, replace the asphalt, and replace the underground infrastructure.
Just on that, Scott, too, that's Ward 5, and I was told that that's supposed to be started this this month.
So that
Now, this is what I was told by supervisors.
no, so I apologize, Counselor. So it did get on the street resurfacing program. So it can be resurfaced. We're recommending delaying it to do a full upgrade of the street. It was, again, we have a number of staff that are doing various pieces. After it did get on the paving program this year, as staff were preparing for the asphalt or resurfacing, red flags were raised because of the condition of the curb, the condition of the water line, and so we're recommending to delay that paving this year, get a proper design redone so that we can replace all the curb and gutter, widen it out a bit so that when vehicles are parked on the side of the road, emergency vehicles can get around, because right now they can't safely. In some cases, depending on the size of the vehicle, and replace all the underground infrastructure and repave it. So it would be a brand new street that
Yeah,
hopefully.
because I was basically told that the sewer and water is already done.
So it has been done in terms of checked, in terms of valves.
Oh,
so
no, it was dug up, too.
So the overall water line condition is old. And I was told by the manager, there have been a number of digs in recent years in that area to repair that. So when, I'm not sure who you're talking to, when they say water and sewer was checked, that means the water and sewer was checked in terms of the crews went out, turned the valves, make sure all the valves were working at the time.
No, no. I mean, like it was dug up.
Pardon me?
Like the certain homes, they're all dug up all along the street the last year or so. So now, and they're looking to have things up the grade again. And I was told that, yeah, it's going to be done this summer.
Correct.
starting
Again,
in
again,
August.
we
And all of a
we
sudden it's
we
off
had
the
every
charts.
intention, and if this committee chooses for us to resurface the road before we're going in and replacing everything, then that we can do that. We're just making a recommendation to pause the plan for a year. So we can upgrade that infrastructure, look and put in a sidewalk in, because there's no sidewalk or multi-use pathway there. Because if we pave it this year, we likely wouldn't return for a number of years. So that's the recommendation on that.
If I may just interrupt, one of the problems when you do pave a street is the fact that it becomes a little more busier. You get a heavier flow of traffic, faster traffic. If we don't have the sidewalks or the infrastructure there in place, the curbing is beat up bad, I believe. But is there any way that we can make sure that the paving that's there now, if we do delay, that we can make sure that it's adequate, that the residents won't be going over, some of that water sewer infrastructure where it causes some major bumps in the road and things. I'm just wondering, could we make sure that the road gets smoothed out as best as possible?
Absolutely, and that's what we have our asphalt crew going around doing what we call long patches with our spreader, and it's definitely something we can look at to get us through another winter, just to tie this area over. Again, if it's the decision of the committee, if we want to continue with that, we can continue to resurface this year. But again, it was just an oversight early on in the year. It happens because there's so many pieces and we only have so few resources at the city, that it was an oversight. But I'm glad we caught it now versus we pave it and then, oh shoot, we should have we should have replaced the water line or something because we have a major failure.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm just getting sort of personal here too, because I'm up and down that street, and I know that street's tough because it has a boulevard through the middle and all that. But all of a sudden, we had it on this 5-year program, and these are jobs that are going to be done this year. And then at the 18th hour, it's dropped off the thing, where I still see other cities in other or other streets in other wards that are not being touched. And then all of a sudden, like, there's one street in my ward's being done this year. We're supposed to be being done. I'm not with Seaview, and then all of a sudden that's just thrown out the water and saying, oh yeah, that's great, we'll look at it some other way. So I don't agree with it, but as I say, it's an engineering, operational thing, and I'm willing to live by it, but I'll certainly go and explain to all the residents why the street is not being done this year again.
And we do apologize, just like I say,
Well-
it's.
I mean, apologies can
totally-
go everywhere,
totally
but,
oversight,
people's been
yeah.
asking about this,
So could we, I'm always one for communication, so is there some way that perhaps the Public Works Department could create some type of correspondence to put in the mailbox? Because I can understand the people who were expecting it, so at least we could do is owe them an explanation, and it shouldn't fall on the counselor. Yeah, so I think if we could do that,
Absolutely, it hasn't been.
Okay.
And that's why we want to go in and do it right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
No.
okay,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we don't have a master plan for street resurfacing because every street gets re-rated every spring, just because we do have a lot of frost heave moving in our asphalt. So we don't have a master plan for that. Can we kind of predict what's going to happen in the next couple of years? We can, just based on the ratings, but it does fluctuate quite a bit from year to year. So that's why we've never put together a 5-year resurfacing program. But our goal, again, we're trying to strive to get to those 5-year plans for total rehab so that this doesn't happen again. And again, we do apologize, and we will send out communications to the residents just to give them an understanding of what's happening, why we're recommending delay, and in hopes that that will help lessen the blow to them.
Yeah, I think it's important that the residents understand that this is a good thing at the end of the day, that we're actually going to be increasing the infrastructure by having sidewalks. I think most of the residents would be pleased with that, but I think it's important that we tell them, right, and the reason why the change of heart, and that we realize that the main water line isn't as good as we thought it was, and that type of thing. So because it is disappointing when they hear that they're not going to get the road. Councillor Yankoff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This just leads to a few other questions, and that would be, what other projects were on the docket for this year, and what other residents are we looking to disappoint?
So I believe we're going to talk about that anyway. Scott, we're going to give an update on that?
Yeah, really and just in regards to that,
Yeah.
really the only ones that have changed were the 2 sidewalk ones that we already talked about and passed through resolutions earlier this year, or about a month or two ago. Other than that, everything is still on docket to proceed. We don't, as long as we keep getting contractors to bid on the work and get it out there, everything still is on track to be completed.
So just as a follow-up, so for example, McCrae Drive and East Royalty to Horseshoe, that's still going to be completed for this year?
So there's a resolution as part of this package that we'll be asking for a recommendation to move to Finance and Council at the end of this meeting here.
To continue with that one?
Yep, that's correct. Yep. No, like I say, there's very little delays this year. It has been a lot of hard work on the staff to keep these files going. We're limited on resources, and I have to commend my team. They've done a phenomenal job this year, considering how many projects that are on the go. But it is a large work order for such a small team.
Okay, thank you
And-
very much.
And I apologize, just the final one, number 8, is just the
Oh,
Phase
yes.
1 University Avenue. That's kind of been talked about,
Right.
start the University Avenue Master Plan, getting those construction drawings ready to go for the upgrades of the 2 intersections, Belvedere and University Avenue, and a new intersection at Indigo and University Avenue.
Right. So, and at the end of this, when this comes to council, we have to make sure that we're, just because it's being engineered or we're starting engineering, doesn't mean it's going to happen next year. It's very, because that does happen from time to time where we do expect, because we know that the engineering's done. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be done the following year.
Correct.
It's a part of a master plan.
And it gives us those budgeting numbers too. That's
Right.
really the key. Until you start
And
diving
budget,
into
right.
these construction drawings and really knowing what you have to replace and upgrade or add to the area, it is very hard to give an accurate estimate for this type of work. And that's truly the key to doing some of this design work early, so that we get those numbers, so that we can figure out, if we want to do it year 1, year 2, 3, 4,
Exactly.
5.
Okay. Yes, Donna.
Congratulations, Scott, on bringing this forward. This is something that staff have been working at for many years to try and get these engineered projects on the shelf that, because Scott was 100% accurate. Quite often at the end of a year, we'll get a call from an infrastructure program saying, hey, you got a project worth this amount of money, this is what we have available, but we need you to commit to it right now. A shovel-ready project, and that's what he's doing here. And just even having the plan for having them
Oh,
on the
yeah.
shelf, I commend you. I didn't realize this was coming forward. I didn't go through my package carefully. My experience here when I first came to the city was that Public Works would go out and pave a street, and the utility would come along behind it and dig it up. Getting Public Works and the utility to work together was a major issue on how we go about. Now, I came down this morning and I stopped at the top of Pond in Spring Park Road and looked down at that street and just said, wow. It just, it's worth the drive out there to take a look at it. It is in great shape, and it really makes a big difference. Congratulations on presenting this, and good job.
Thank you. And just one other note too, this is not a comprehensive list of projects, right? These are just some of the projects that we see coming down the pipe. And as with any plan, it's a moving plan. It doesn't mean that if council comes to me in December and say, can we really look at this? Then of course we can add that into the lineup and get some engineering drawings done. So it's not the fully comprehensive list for the next few years. It's to get us started, and we will keep building on this list of projects that are shovel ready and predict our next 5 years. That's really ultimately the goal, to get that 5-year, start to get that plan, that 5-year plan of how much Public Works is looking for year 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 5 for capital projects is really what we're trying to aim for here.
Good.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
Mr.
just want to say, echo what
Yeah.
our CAO said, but I did read my package, so I know what I'm talking about. And Mr. Chair, I just want to say, now this has been sent out to councillors, and I know you had to address some councillor that did, there was a mistake in where the project was, but you can actually track where it's at.
Yeah.
And I know the staff, and there is a lot more integration and interworkings with amongst the departments, and that's good to see, because as Donna knows, over the years, it's been difficult to get one to work with the other, but now there's more collaboration, cooperation, and it's all about transparency. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, I can't, again, too, myself, this document right here is worth its weight in gold. It gives everybody an idea where we're going, and unfortunately, though, like we say, things do change. I think we do the best we can with sticking to the plan, but unfortunately, in this particular case, it didn't actually pan out for that View Boulevard. But I think at the end of the day, if people could show some patience, I know I was the same with Exhibition Drive, right? I wanted that done 4 years ago, but I finally got it done. But I mean, now I really got a street, I got sidewalks, I got.
And I just want to make it clear, like, I'm not knocking or anything, staff, because I think it's a fantastic way you're doing that. And I know I heard the staff is working and all that stuff. But then again, we turn around, as we're going to see a little later, like there's a resolution for the multi-purpose pathways. We seem to be, and I know that's very, very important because people are out more and walking more and all that, but not everybody does that. And there's people on certain streets in the city of Charlottetown, in every ward, that live in these streets day in, day out, but they don't use the path. So if all of a sudden someone says, well, you spend $2 million on a multi-purpose path, that makes no difference to me at all. To this certain resident, so we got to sort of balance it out. Like the multi-purpose paths are fantastic, and we need them because that keeps our city alive and all that stuff. But all of a sudden we're just building up one area of the whole city, and we're sort of forgetting about the older part of the city.
But Mr. Councillor Ramsey, we are I think View Boulevard takes a lot of traffic and from the development that's happened up behind it, right? And everyone wants to get down to North River Road. So I think this is going to improve, you know, like, you know, when you walk down View Boulevard or drive a bicycle and there's a car coming, someone's got to give, right? So this is only going to help the street in the long run. I understand, and that's why I'm asking the Public Works Department to get out there with an explanation to your residents so that they understand that this will be a win-win for everybody.
No, I'm just not talking about Seaview Boulevard. Like it's other streets, like for example, like on Maplewood Crescent, there's probably, where I live, like there wouldn't be, probably 3 people use you know, the path and all that stuff, right? I mean, but there is some that use it. But I'm just saying, he just said well, it's more of a shock than anything.
No.
Okay, thank you. And the staff is doing great, Scott.
No, and I appreciate that, Councillor.
And,
for sure.
and I know them all, and this is a fantastic plan that
Yeah.
you drew up, and I'm full support of it, but.
And just in terms of your comment to the older city, what were the older part of the city, where our focus is going, and I think you might be able to see us through the plan or through some of the design work we're trying to do, is it's gotten to a point where we have done as much maintenance as we can, where we're starting to get to the point where it is full rehabilitations. And the unfortunate part is that costs a lot more money, but at the end of the day, if we do that full rehab, now we're going to extend the life of that area for another 20 years, upwards of that. But it's, that's the biggest challenge is the cost. So we do, and we at Public Works, Water and Sewer as well, we recognize that, you know, your ward, Ward 4, you know, Ward 2, even, you know, various parts of the downtown wards as well. Their infrastructure is aging, and we want to go in there and do it right the first time versus, you know, wasting money, going in, paving 1 year, a couple years later having to go back doing other repairs. And so you will see, you know, this is definitely an error on our part. We should have caught this sooner. But you know, as we get these plans, you know, as we are able to have time to work on these plans and get these 5-year master plans for various aspects of our work that we do, you'll start to see, you'll see how all the pieces start to work together and how we are focusing on various areas of the city at various times a year.
Hey, thank you very much. So we'll move on to, I guess you would, we need to approve them, I guess, those engineering plans to move forward. Do we not, I guess, through resolution, we will. So I'll need a mover and a seconder then for the engineering design. Moved by Councillor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Duffy. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's everybody. Thank you very much. Moving on to tenders. Scott, multi-paved pathways. Oh, the capital projects update. Sorry, I jumped it. Yeah, we're talking about it and I jumped right over it.
Sorry, if there are changes or adjustments you'd like to see to what the information is here, please let us know. It is how we've set up our master spreadsheet. It can be worked a little bit to make it easier for read for you folks. One thing we tried to do is, as a project is completed, we try to move it to the top of the list so that it shows that the work has been done and we're working on finalizing the contract. So I guess I'll skip the completed section, but we'll move on to down below. Belmont Street, as of today, it's actually like 99% complete. There's just a bit of asphalt work left to do. So next month, you'll see that as completed. Our Public Works new building out there off Brackley Point Road, making great progress. The steel has been showing up every day. The shell is pretty much up, except for the front doors. But it definitely is starting to take shape out there now. If you were to take a drive out there.
And Mr. Chair, could we ask questions as they go through?
Certainly, yeah. Yep.
So Scott, just on that's the McAleer Drive accessory building. In terms of feeding the fiber optic into that facility, can that take place now, or do we have to wait for the building to be complete?
Already done. There's a conduit already placed. It was placed last fall. As part of the water and sewer fiber optic network. It was coming through that area anyway to tie to McAleer, their computer system over there. So I'm told the conduit's already been laid for any communication or fiber op network.
Thank you, sir.
The Harley Street, well underway there now, and we expect to be completed sometime by the end of September. I believe is the completion date, September 30th. Eastern Gateway Phase 1, so it's a lot of data collection right now, what we're doing. A lot of stormwater collection that is just starting, so that we can model the stormwater system in that area and design the pipe accordingly.
And Mr. Chair, just again, I'm getting calls. I know the counselor from the area, our CAO is getting emails from the counselor from Ward 4. Hurley Street, I've been out there numerous times. I'm now getting videos from residents. And as you know,
Yep.
Mr. Adams,
Yep.
many of the residents living in those apartment buildings are seniors. Their ability to get out, back has been really curtailed, interrupted. And now you're looking at the end of September, so will they have to withstand or live with this for the next
So
6 weeks plus?
we're still finishing up the final connections right now. All the underground work is nearing completion, so that makes it a lot easier for exiting and entering. It's unfortunate, but it's part of trying to reconstruct a major roadway. A roadway that has a lot of resident, and it is inconvenient, and we do apologize. It's but there is a pattern to installing everything to make sure it's installed appropriately.
Yeah.
You're meeting regulations, and as well as you're still able to keep the road open. We could go in there and literally excavate the entire road and put all the pipe in. It would crash the schedule probably in half, but then no one would be able to park,
Right.
access their buildings unless you walked quite far, and so we couldn't have that. So that's kind of the trade-off by still being able to access the road, or while still accessing the apartment buildings while constructing. It takes a little bit longer because it's done in phases, but at the end of the day, the residents, once the dust settles and pardon the pun, and the road's done. I think you'll get a lot of compliments from the residents on the final product, with a sidewalk there now, or will be a sidewalk there, having some built-in traffic calming, and all brand new infrastructure in terms of stormwater, because that was also a big issue in that area. It will be night and day, and hopefully you'll never see anyone in there from Public Works or Water and Sewer for a number of years doing any repair job. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And again, there's dust control and all that stuff. You can water it till your face is blue. On really hot days, it can evaporate very quickly, and it still picks up, especially with the truck traffic. And again, it's just an unfortunate event that happens with this type of construction. At the end of the day, the contractor is the responsible party for maintaining all that. If there is any damages or injuries or anything as a result of the work to private property or anything like that, they're responsible for it. And we say, if any residents have any questions, comments, I know we had an issue with a heat pump. Call us. We will work with you to help you get anything repaired with the contractor. So that's what we're here for. So we've received a few questions, comments, and a few issues. So we work through them as we get them.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, as you know, no different than what's going on Garfield Street. It's a big project. Today, it wouldn't be wait for the dust to settle. It'll be just Mudville down there. And, as you get into later August, early September, more rain. So it's...
You'll start to see gravel in the next couple of weeks, which once you start to see the gravel, that's when you know you're on the home stretch. So that's coming very soon.
Yeah.
Like I say, the water line's done. The final connections, I believe they're almost done. I believe there's some remaining stormwater roughly left to do.
And Mr. Chair, I appreciate what the contractor's doing. They have lots of safety measures in place. There's the work is being very respectful to the neighbors living in the apartment buildings. But as I said, I have videos, emails, Facebook messages daily, not daily, but frequently. And the CAO, she's getting them daily from elected officials and non-elected officials. So thank you for your work so far.
If there's one thing that I've learned from Garfield Street, it's just a communication piece between the contractor and our public works team, and that is, you know, if the gate or driveway is going to be closed, that we give them ample notice, you know, and that's the key.
Exactly.
I think a lot of residents in the other one, in Garfield, got frustrated because 10 minutes prior to when they were going to close it, that's when they told them. So people had appointments and things like that. So that needs to be addressed.
That one was actually a misunderstanding on the property owner's fault. It was a 10 minutes potential delay while they passed the driveway with the asphalt spreader, which happens in any pavement job, but just a miscommunication, and those are things we'll work through. And again, if residents, the best way is just tell a resident to call us. It kind of cuts, you know, I know you folks like to be involved and understand, but it gets the message to them quicker if they just call us. We have myself, my project manager, I have my techs that we can get answers very, very quickly and get it out there. So please just direct them to contact us and we'll deal with it as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
So on the second page, street resurfacing well underway, and we expect to be completed the fall. Short Street extension. So we have the contract documents downstairs. We'll be going to tender here my apologies. I'm thinking of the next one. Short Street extension's already been awarded to Island Coastal. They're getting geared up. I think I'm here in September when we think they'll be in there to get that work done. But I'm just waiting for confirmation because they have a lot on their plate at the moment, and they're just trying to see where that all fits in their schedule.
Mr. Adams, before you go on to the next one, just a question back on the Eastern Gateway Phase 1. Where do we, residents are concerned about the water issue that they're having on Beach Street, Park Street, and I know we've been telling them that some work is going to be started, but what's the actual expectation for this year?
So again, that's part of the data collection right now. At the end of the day, the goal is that entire area that sees localized flooding when we have intense rainfalls and a high tide. The goal is that only occurs during very, 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 it would have to be the most extreme event we see. The goal is at the end of the day, there's no localized flooding. We hope to handle the bulk, 99% of storms, with what we plan to implement. And we're looking at various options. And again, it will depend on what we find from field data collection out there. So that is the goal, is to eliminate that issue so we don't have homes that are flooding or anything of that nature. That's not our intent.
Yeah. So, but from an actual neighborhood, they'll see no work actually, or will they see anything on those streets? You know, most of them are expecting to see some type of work being done. Like the data collection is not something that they would understand.
Yeah.
You know, until they
So
see a
we
backhoe.
won't know the full extent of the work until that data collection is done. Again, we got to figure out where all the pipes are coming and going, what type of flows we're expecting in those pipes. And again, that's all part of data collection and modeling. And so once we get that data, and we expect it to have it sometime late fall, then we'll start to design the stormwater system.
And just as a reminder, could we, in the back of your mind, just keep, when we get close to winter, that you don't pile the snow on Beach Street there up on the parking lot at the government garage there, or our parking lot?
Right. Well, it's going to be much different now, too, because we'll have, once we do the Beach Street, Park Street connector.
Yeah, that's true. Too.
We'll have the division of sidewalk between the remaining parking lot and the road.
So they can't push.
So we'll definitely ask them not to push it there because we got to clear the sidewalk in the winter months. So, so yeah, you'll see you'll see big improvements from that aspect of it as well.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, Beach Street, Park Street, as we said, I have the contract documents downstairs for final review, so that should be going out very soon. The roundabout, we are well underway now, finally. It's been a long time coming, but a lot of work to do. There's a lot of underground infrastructure to replace. We're some major infrastructure underground. So they're progressing fairly well so far. A few traffic controls in place, few minor adjustments every day as we see how traffic adjusts to these changes. It's expected with this type of work, things are going quite well right now, so far anyway.
And Mr. Chair, I'm sure you're hearing a lot of residents are, questioning if this will work. I'm not an engineer, but I know roundabouts that have been installed are working quite well. And Mr. Adams, I've been out by the site, and the east-west flow of traffic on St. Peter's is going well. So after you complete the work, or after Island Coastal Service complete the work near Belvedere and Belvedere Avenue, Brackley Point Road, then you'll switch to St. Peter's Road, and those lanes will be open? Is that the plan?
So I'd have to refer back to the traffic control plan, but what we're in is what we're calling phase one, sorry. So phase one is where we are right now, Brackley, Belvedere, so it's closed. When we switch to phase two, St. Peter's Road would be stop and go traffic when the work's ongoing. We told them they cannot shut down St. Peter's Road for a number of reasons, for whether it's emergency services, because there's a fire hall right there, or it is essentially the main artery over in that area to get to pretty much the east end of PEI. So we said it had to be stop and go. Yes, we will likely be able to open Belvedere and Brackley Point Road up into some capacity. It may not connect into St. Peter's Road, just depending where we are at in that phase, because we could be working in what we call the center bulb of the roundabout, which just won't permit ease of access. So you may be able to go from Belvedere, Brackley to maybe St. Peter's in towards downtown or something of that nature. But again, there is an overall master plan on what roads are, where we're going to connect everything for temporarily for access, but it will change week to week just based on where we are at in the phasing of work. But we will have media campaigns out there every time we plan to make any changes. Yes.
So, and Mr. Chair, I know that and you're quite familiar with the roundabouts on Riverside Drive, all the electrical, telecommunications was buried. We're doing the same thing, but is that part of the tender, or is that an additional cost through Bella Line, Eastlink, MECL? Do we have the numbers for that?
Great question. So most of the electrical is staying on the outside of the roundabout. We're not burying it. It's going around the outside. It won't be over the bulb or anything of that nature. Everything is still in the air, but they're replacing a number of poles, cleaning up a lot of the older poles, so it'll look much cleaner around the outside of the roundabout. In terms of additional costs, there was some additional costs in terms of Maritime Electric. We didn't get their full scope of work early enough before we tendered this, but we have found just some savings there's some savings with us going from a concrete sidewalk to a multi-use pathway. So a lot of those. So right now, the last we looked at, again, we're still crunching numbers, but as of right now, we're still within that original purchase order that was approved, or resolution that was approved by council. So the next one, Lincoln Street, that sidewalks, they're on Centennial right now, doing the sidewalk there, and so they'll be coming over to Lincoln Street to reconstruct that sidewalk. Centennial, that's where they're at, working, our contractor's working right now. We are going to tender for Wedgwood and West Ridge here. I think it's actually out now. I have to double check. Raiders Road, Burns Avenue, to the school on McCrae Drive. There's a resolution attached for approval of those two multi-use pathways. And the Beach Grove Road work, bit of a delay in terms of on the water and sewer side. The challenge has been one of the first phases we have to do is not actually at the site of the culvert replacement. It is tying the existing neighborhood into. There's a high pressure water line that runs on Maypoint, and so we need to tie in the neighborhood in this area, Lewis Point, all that area into this line. So we have to install what we call a PRV chamber, or pressure relief valve, and that allows us to reduce the pressure of water from the high pressure line to residential pressure line. So that's the hiccup, has been just delay in some of the electronics that monitors that pressure in that. We need to be able to monitor that 24/7, water and sewer does, to ensure there's water being fed to the neighborhood and that it's at the appropriate pressure for homes to handle it. I think we have a solution finally, so I think we're going to be seeing the contractor. If it's not next week, it'll be the following week moving in, starting that work, which is about 2 weeks worth of work, we're hoping. Once that is done, then there will be, we'll be moving down to the culvert to start that work.
And Mr. Chair, when you're dealing with waterways, you do have restricted time periods. So we'll be within that restricted window.
We've already got our extension. We're ahead of you. Then where are we next? Fitzroy Street facade. We have a kickoff meeting tomorrow with the expectation sometime later this fall that work will get underway. And Powell Street structural rehabilitation. We are in the design phase of that tender for some of those structural repairs on Powell Street. And then some of the municipal building stuff, municipal building, that's the Honeywell contract, well underway, making a lot of progress, especially here at City Hall. Lots been underway, and we're still making progress there. Just some security upgrades. We are working on a new card reading system here at City Hall and all our municipal buildings. It's just a way to update access to our buildings. It's a single access card that would be managed by one single system versus some buildings are keyed, some buildings are swipe card. You got to have a swipe card here, a different swipe card here. So the goal is so everything's on the same building, and then you can limit access. You can change access for various people. So like essentially, if you only need access, like for council, you would only need access to City Hall. Your card would only permit you into City Hall. And the nice thing about this too is a great thing for Parks and Rec that we see folks that take out keys for rentals of buildings. What sometimes, there's no way to guarantee that no one's copying that key. But with a swipe card, you put an expiration date on it. So if they don't return the card, the swipe card is inactive anyway. They can't ever get in unless it gets activated again. So there's a lot of safety features built into it that will be quite nice.
Just a question on that. So the other our public buildings, the rec halls and things like that. So if I was to rent the hall, I would get a card.
Correct.
And it would be deactivated after whatever the
Correct.
time frame of which I was to rent it.
Again, we still have to work out those details, develop those policies on how it's
So
going
there's
to
quite
do.
a few groups and organizations, right, that
Yep.
need to get in and out of those buildings. Right?
Absolutely. So again, like you do right now, you would rent a key, or you come pick up a key. No, you come pick up your card. And the nice thing about the card is now you're not restricted to only picking up Friday afternoon if you have it for Saturday, right? We could essentially say, okay, you need to pick it up Tuesday because you're busy the rest of the week. We can program that card that you have the building from 12 until 5 on Saturday. It only works from 12 until 5.
Yeah.
That's all you get access to. And then it's automatically deactivated. So things like that is some nice features. And then we also can tell, if someone has gone in after hours, like that shouldn't have been there. There's some. And then another nice feature that we're looking at is certain individuals within the staffing level who would be responsible for this program. Say, I'll use Donna for an example, and say she forgot her card. She calls me and says, Scott, can you let me in? You can have remote access to allow someone to unlock the door in an emergency situation. We could have fire call us on our way to a fire, say, community center's on fire or something. Can you give us access? And we can unlock all the doors before they even arrive. So there's things like that we can do for safety and security of all our buildings. Again, we're still developing those specs. We're reviewing various options, and we'll be going out to tender here before too long. City Hall roof upgrades, we're nearing completion. You see the scaffolding down mostly around the building, which is great to see. The Macaleer upgrades, that is just, we're starting to prepare for once Water and Sewer and Parks and Rec take their new building, some of the upgrades to the existing building to enhance our operations there. We're still in the fact-finding stage at the moment to develop those that work. And then that is pretty much it for updates there, other than Hillsborough Hall. That is an elevator. We have a tender out for that, for the design work right now. And what else was there? And we have a design or tender out for Hertz Hall upgrades for some engineering service as well for that one.
That's a great report there, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Other questions for Scott? Everybody good with that? Great?
Great
Okay.
job, great job.
Great job. It's a lot of information, and a lot of explanation.
Good job, Donna.
But you pretty well got it
And
down
that's
pretty
this is
good.
just the high level stuff.
This is on the night table, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much, Scott. Great job. So we are now going to F, the tenders, multi-purpose pathway.
Yeah, so one resolution for approval. Multi-purpose pathways, Landmark, we had two bidders, Landmark and Earthform Corporation. Landmark was the low bid at $1,090,400 plus all applicable taxes. We are satisfied with their bid, and I apologize, I just noticed we did not include the locations in the report. We will update that before it goes to
I was
finance.
just gonna suggest that.
But that is for both McCrae and Raiders Road.
Right. Okay. So that information will become available.
Yeah, we'll update that. My apologies. I just realized that we forgot to add it.
I move the resolution, Mr. Chair.
Good. Thank you very much. Moved by Mr. Brown, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. All those in, oh, very good. He's got somewhere to go. Question call. Okay. All those in favor? Good. Great. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I got to work, you know. Okay. So introduction to new business. So Scott, if you just want to give us a quick update, or we'll, the mayor had mentioned Hawthorne Avenue, just to mention that, you know, the comments of positivity are still coming in. We do get, and I'm sure the reason the mayor brought it up is we are still getting the heckling that neighbors, you know, they're afraid that the stop signs are going to come out because they're working so well, and that temporary thought of it. So that's probably
As of right now, we got to do some data collection, and that's something we'll do over the next few months, and we'll continue to monitor that. And until we see, if we see that it, you know, we'll get that report and then provide additional feedback. Yep.
okay. Victoria Row.
I believe these are two lights fixtures that Council Yankov was alluding to. It is an underground conduit issue. Again, just the age of the infrastructure. There's a failure somewhere, and that's something that we're trying to figure out. I am not sure where that is in the process, but I will get you an update and provide you some feedback on that.
It's been 2 years, so I hope we're somewhere on this, because it has been 2 years since those lights have been on.
So Scott, if you could get an update on that and as to when we could actually see something be done there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And the Fitzroy lighting down the bottom.
I'll have to check with Maritime Electric where they're at on that. I know right now they're saying any new lights or installs are in sometime later this fall, because all their crews are busy on construction sites right at the moment. So I'll try to get you an update on that one, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. The thing is that it was almost a year ago, if not a year ago, and it's a safety factor. It's not it's nothing else but safety, and it shouldn't delay, because it's not as though it's decorative or any of that sort of thing, or a wish rather than a need. It is a need, because I'm down around there and I see it is pretty dark, I must
Yeah,
say.
and
Anyway, thank you.
yeah, thank you very much.
And Mr. Chair,
yes.
I know for the council from the area and myself, we did have a resolution to extend the heritage lights. That was denied, and we're still without lighting now. We're hoping that this fixed from Maritime Electric. But again, the whole objective, and I'm glad that Donna is here, that the whole objective of the Heritage Lighting Program was to provide, to make, or to install heritage lighting in the 500 lots. And the end of Fitzroy Street is part of the 500 lots because it leads into Victoria Park. So I'm again advocating that sometime down the road, this maritime electric light for me, or lighting, will be only temporary, because what beautifies this downtown 500 lots and what we sell day in, day out are those just the ambience that we create through lighting, building facades, and so forth. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
And Chair?
Yes, Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you. And if we were able to find money to replace the existing antique lighting on Kent Street this year for a lighting project, we should be able to look at extending our antique lighting and our antique lighting plan for the 500 lot, correct?
Yeah, I think with the Kent Street project, there could also be perhaps extra poles there. Would they, Scott, could they be reused, any of those lighting?
We'd have to look at the condition and assessment, and
Yeah.
the heads would still have to be changed, and we need all new bases anyway. So really what you're saving
Yeah.
is not a huge amount.
Yeah, that makes
And just the design's done, as we already went to tender once before, so it is considered a shelf-ready project. We'll always put it on the, when we go to capital budget discussion, there will be a list of, here's all the projects that are on the shelf ready, or here's what we're working on, and then we can have those discussions. That's where we want to put money towards.
If we could push Maritime Electric a little bit, maybe to get that temporary light changed so that it is dark down there. There's no doubt about it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Just to add
Mr.
to
Councillor
what
Duffy.
His Worship has said, I agree with what he says, but there's two issues that when you come down Fitzroy and cross over Rochford, that block now that you're on, the first light there is an LED light.
Yeah.
So it changes the tone once you cross over Rochford. Then from that light down to Terry Fox Drive, there's no lights. So they already started the trend with an LED light from
Right.
Rochford down. The second part is there was $100,000 in the difference.
No,
It
it wasn't $100.
It was around
No,
36,000 versus 130,000.
I disagree.
But for now, that's a discussion we can have later. But at the time, right now, we need to have that brighter there.
Yeah.
And that's another topic for another day as far as that tender. Okay.
Let's see what Maritime Electric says.
Yeah, that's the push.
And again, Scott, just
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, just on the Hawthorne Avenue, again, we're rest assured that the stop signs will stay there for a period of time. It's being assessed, and a report will be coming back to this standing committee, correct? Thank you.
Absolutely. With this type of project, when you look at research studies, a lot of things start to happen after the 3 or 6 month mark. You'll start to see changes. If you're going to see any issues, that's when you start to see the issues. And so that's what we want to wait and monitor it for at least 6 months to a year to really understand what's happening, and to see the effectiveness of it.
Winter season and whatnot, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I'll need a motion here to move into closed session as per section 119(1), subsection E and F of the PI Municipal Government Act, moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. All those in favor of going into a closed session, please raise your hand. Good. Everybody, thank you. I'll give Wallace a second there, too.